right, folks, my fellow Iowans, does this sound like a message the rest of America needs to be hearing? You can be a part of that. Nobody else can be a part of this. Only us Iowans can go to Ames and vote in that straw poll. And we can take the message that you just heard and magnify it and elevate it just by going to Ames and casting a vote for Ron Paul in that straw poll on August 13th. Please step outside when we're all wrapped up here. Get signed up. Transportation, entertainment, food, a great day, tremendous speakers, including, of course, Dr. Paul. It's going to be a really good time. I want you to come. I want you to bring your friends. I want you to bring some family, anybody you can bring with you. We have the opportunity to magnify this message and elevate it and send America a message out of Ames on August 13th. So I'll hope that you will do that. What we'd like to do now is we're going to have an opportunity for Dr. Paul to answer some questions. We're going to begin with folks from the press that are here today. If anybody from the press has a question that they'd like to ask the Congressman, please raise your hand, let me know, and this is going to be your opportunity to do that. Right, how about the rest of the audience? Would anybody, oh, there you go. There's a bunch of questions. How about this young man right here? And please speak up. The fan up here is kind of noisy. Shout it out for us.
If you could appoint the next chairman of the Federal Reserve, who would it be?
Appointing the next chairman of the Federal Reserve is irrelevant. Because it's the system that is bad. And even though I challenged Bernanke and Greenspan on a few occasions, they're not my target. It's nobody, and sort of like what I was talking about before, nobody knows how to run your life. And nobody knows what the money supply is supposed to be. And nobody knows what the interest rates should be. So it's the system. I mean, I could appoint somebody that's a free market person, but he probably wouldn't take the job because he would know that he's not supposed to do it. But somebody that I admire because he really understands this could either be Secretary of Treasury or in the Federal Reserve, and that would be Jim Grant. Some of you may not have heard, but he knows Austrian economics, and he would be trusted not to pretend to know what the interest rate should be. But he's probably also the one that probably wouldn't take the job either. But it's the system. It's the system of money which is completely contradictory to commodity money, which is what I think we need.
What about this gentleman in the purple tie?
Hi, my name is Carl, and I'm a certified public accountant, and I spend the majority of my time preparing personal and individual tax returns. However, I support you and your position on ending the Federal Reserve and in turn the IRS. So my question to you is this: how do we go about ending the Federal Reserve? Do we have to wait for Congress to repeal the Federal Reserve Act? Could a president lawfully sign an executive order ending the Federal Reserve Charter? Or finally, could we, the people of this great republic, take individual actions to end the Federal Reserve?
Good question. The president couldn't do it, or at least I, as president, wouldn't do it as an executive order because it was a law that was passed, even though it's unconstitutional. I could conceive of challenging it in the courts, but the courts have always been favorable to, anytime we've challenged anything in the court, central banking has always, been supported. In what I've written since the early 80s, being on the Gold Commission, my approach to it is not to close the Fed down in one day, because it would be chaotic, because we are dependent. But what I would legalize is competition. Today, if you as an individual want to compete, and you say, well, the Constitution says gold and silver, I'm going to take my gold coins and silver coins, and we're going to go out and start trading with gold and silver. And I don't know, you've heard the case just recently, somebody tried it, went to prison. And somebody else tried to pay in silver dollars, old silver dollars, because on the books they're still legal tender. He went to prison too. So it's a big problem. But if we had a sensible country that didn't want to turn the Fed down in one day and didn't want to keep sending people to prison, what I would do is introduce, I have legislation introduced now, but I would get legislation passed where they would legalize competition. It's sort of like the post office. The post office is permittable. That's more permitted than, of course, the Federal Reserve. But if you don't like the post office, you don't need to close the post office down one day. just legalize competition in first-class mail and see what happens. But on competing currencies, it means that the legal tender laws would have to be changed. But if you wanted to do it, let's say we have rampant inflation like I expect even next year, if you wanted to deal in a gold or silver currency, especially a savings account in your bank, you'd have to take taxes off it, because if you go to the bank and you want to buy or cash in some money for quarters, you don't get taxed. But if you take your money to the coin dealer, you have to pay sales tax. And then you pay, and then if the value of the dollar goes down and the nominal value of your gold or silver goes up, you have to pay a capital gains tax. So it's not fair. So I would want to legalize the competition. And actually, this idea has made some traction in Mexico, because their middle class has been wiped out quite a few times. And that is really what happens. That's a characteristic of runaway inflation. The middle class gets wiped out. But down there, you can save in silver. Our laws today, the current laws that have not been repealed, says that a dollar is 371 1/4 grains of silver. But that's never been repealed. There's not even a law in the book that tells you that Federal Reserve notes are dollars. And that is what has to be done. But what I think could happen if we have chaos in the economy, which is possible, and people are scurrying around, and at least for a short period of time, I think people will use gold and silver, and it will be a form of nullification. Not official nullification, but if they have a currency like in Zimbabwe or Germany, I hope it never gets that bad, but it's conceivable that it would get that bad, and people should and probably will. And I think that's a lot of reasons why people do go and buy gold and silver coins, just the fact that it's just not a few of us that understand what's happening in the monetary system.
Congressman Paul, Matt Jack, ABC News. I just had a question for you. This is one of your campaign achievements, and it's made in El Salvador. And I didn't know if you were aware of that, and if you weren't aware of it, maybe you plan to change that.
No, I wasn't aware of it, but I wouldn't change it. That would reject the whole idea. Let's say that shirt, let's say it's a shirt, not a campaign shirt, but let's say it's a shirt for $3, and if it were made here, it would be $10. So do you want a poor person to pay $10 all the time? No, you want the market. First, every individual has a right to spend their money the way they want. It's their money. I don't want to tell people. And besides, if you say nothing can be made, so we're going to regulate the prices from imported goods. So what about a poor person can get tennis shoes for $10? If you buy them in the United States, they cost $100. That wouldn't be morally right. It wouldn't be good economic policy. So I would argue the case that the market should determine it.